I think we can slowly start this presentation. I'm Paweł Dyrek. I'm Technology Consulting Manager from Codete company. And first of all, I would like to welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be here. It's always an honor to be on such a great event and have a possibility to present some topic which, at least in my opinion, is interesting, and I hope it'll be also interesting for you guys. What I would like to talk about is some idea how to handle and how to optimize the process of regression testing. In my company, we have came with the idea to use some machine learning techniques to optimize the process, to basically try to make it more efficient, more robust, and this will be the main focus of my presentation. It's last day of the conference, so I think that everyone knows the drill. I mean, there's a slide about the Slido tool, which is used for questions that I will be answering at the end of the presentation. So as I understand, there's a link for all of you guys. Then you need to enter proper room, and you will be able to post the questions, and I will have the list of them by the end of the presentation. What's on the agenda of my presentation? So first of all, I would like to describe the problem. What's the whole idea and why we are trying to solve it. I will suggest some solutions that are already on the market and basically the approaches that are currently being taken, the classical approaches. Our suggested solution, how we would like to tackle the problem, to visualize what we are talking about, what kind of volume we are talking about. I have some numbers and a real case example. Also, I would like to give some heads up about our current work, about what we have already done in this field. Next, machine learning applications, how we are trying to leverage the possibilities of using those techniques, and the road ahead of us, as we have just started with the idea, and we are exploring the ways how we can expand, how we can move forward. So the sole problem that we are trying to tackle is that regression testing takes a lot of effort. I mean, it's not surprising. I'm not saying anything, any new idea. It's not a rocket science. Everyone knows that to go through the whole application, it takes a lot of effort, and it doesn't matter if we will do it testing it manually, like it's done in most of the cases, or if we are creating the automated test suites. Those are the most typical ways how the regression is being performed now. So either there's a QA team or any other group of people who are working as a testers on a given project, and they are performing the tests. Either they are going through the test scenarios, or they are just doing some exploratory testing. Doesn't matter, there are different approaches, but they are clicking through application, checking what's there, if it's working, if it's not. The other way is to write automated tests in Selenium or any other tool, which will do it in an automated way. Of course, both solutions work, but both of the solutions are extremely time-consuming, requires a lot of effort, and usually, especially for manual testing, this effort is being done each time we are performing the regression. Our idea is to use snapshot testing. It's not a new idea. We are not reinventing the wheel, because the whole idea is to store the state of the application, of different parts of it, as the screenshots, just to make screenshots of different parts, different state of the applications. And then when we are making, when we want to make a regression, when we want to check the regression of the whole platform, then we are making the screenshots again in the same states of the applications, and we are comparing those. And if there are any differences, then it has to be checked if it's a known change, if it's a known difference, because, for example, this difference is due to some features, some bugs, basically some development that was done between those regressions, or if it's an unexpected difference. If so, probably we have found a bug, we have found something that maybe should be considered that it shouldn't reach the next environment. And because testing by screenshots is nothing new, but what we want to do, we want to explore this idea even more, because there are known problems when we are testing with screenshots, and we would like to leverage, we would like to mitigate some of those problems using machine learning techniques. Our idea is to make an open source tool. We don't want to make anything commercial, we just want to make a tool which will be used. I wrote a slogan like from QAs, for QAs and by QAs. I mean, why I wrote something like that? Because the whole idea came from one of our QA engineers we have at Codeta, who implemented such an idea for a few customers. Then we have realized that the idea is fine. The idea really brings up the speed. It makes the process much more efficient. So we have came to conclusion that we would like to make something more generic, something that can be used for variety of projects. We of course considered to make it a product, but in the end we have realized that it will be much more efficient to make it public. And hopefully next week or week after we'll have it as an open source GitHub repository, which everyone is of course encouraged to visit, and I'm sure that we'll put some information about it on Facebook. Some numbers. I mean, what we are dealing with so far. As I said, this idea was implemented for several live products, for several products which are already working, which are on production, which have end users, which have real customers which are using, paying for those. We have implemented this snapshot testing idea as a part of their code base while we were working on those, using different scripts, mostly in Java and JavaScript, to make those screenshots, compare it. And also, of course, we are using Selenium to reach different states of the application. That's the idea which was done. It's very robust. It's very simple, and it's a part of the code base of the applications that we are developing. And now we are working to extract it, to make it like a library, to make it totally separated. Some numbers, maybe they are exaggerating a bit, but that's what we have seen when we started using this approach. Our lead QA entered a new project, and within 1 month he was able to achieve a coverage which was sufficient for him. This project was it's a hedge fund from United States, so they do not, the UI is not that complicated, but they have a lot of data displayed on the screens. And he realized that writing a typical test cases to check each piece of the data, if it's fine, if it's correct, will require a tremendous effort. And it was much easier for him to just take a screenshot of the whole report generated, or any kind of screen which displays the data that can be restored in a meaningful way, because in the end we want to find places which should be similar between the regression. So, for example, any kind of report which is generated based on some kind of data fixture, something that we can control, we expect the result always to be the same. And by doing so, we are checking if the logic has changed between the regression or not. So he made a data fixture. He ran a part of the application which generated a report. Let's say it was report from the data that he has prepared. He took a screenshot of this data, and after, I don't know, a week or so, when he needed to retest this part, he applied the same data fixture, ran it through the logic, and took a screenshot and compared those two screenshots. And if they are the same, it means the logic with all possible changes that might happen between the regressions. If the screenshots are the same, it means that the results was the same. I mean, of course, when there's no UI, I mean, we're talking about comparing screenshots with some numbers, but in the end, if we are comparing even in a dummy way, pixel to pixel, if the 2 was changed to 7, we'll find it. And it's much easier to make a screenshot of the whole page without digging into the exact logic of it, because for the typical page, you will need to write dozens or maybe even hundreds of test cases if you want to cover every piece of information that is on the page, because you want to check if the number is correct, if the color is correct, padding, margin, font, color, whatever. I mean, there's like a lot of different cases if you want to cover exactly everything. We want to simplify it, just make a screenshot. That's a one test case which covers most of the application, most of the items that are on the page. And we estimate that the one QA using this tool, especially at the beginning of the project, when there is like a lot of baggage, a lot of things that are not covered yet, it's very easy for him, and it will bring him up to speed in a similar fashion as we would have like 4 QAs writing Selenium tests from scratch for a given project. As a great example is one of our customers. It's Language International project. What they are doing, they are selling language courses in different places of the world. So for example, if you want to learn Mandarin in Boston, in the United States, they will probably have a landing page, Mandarin courses in Boston. Just for SEO reasons, nothing really fancy. But what does it mean? They have a lot of landing pages. I mean, when I checked their sitemaps, they are of course heavily nested into each other. There's like about 50,000 different landing pages just for SEO reasons. They are of course generated. They are no one wrote them from scratch, but they exist and they are extremely important for this platform, because without those, they will not appear in Google as they should, as that's the main source of the traffic. There's about 60 languages on this site, and of course, all kind of websites, most of the websites should be compatible with most of different devices, viewports, so on and so forth. So I did some math. Of course, I have a bias to show as big numbers as possible, but even just order of magnitude, after I multiplied all of those, we are talking about like 30 million different test cases, because each of those landing pages we should check on few different devices. We should check on all of the languages to see if everything's fine. What does it mean? I mean, we are basically, it's impossible to make a full regression of such project. I mean, even forget about the devices, about the languages. It's impossible to check those landing pages if they are working properly. It will take weeks, probably weeks or months to go through it. Even if we will write automated tests, like classical automated tests using Selenium or any other tool, this of course can work, and this will simplify the process, but probably still we will need a few QAs, a few weeks of their work to cover those, even if they will manage to do it in more generic way. And also the maintenance of such tests might be extremely painful and might be extremely inefficient, because if we have a generic test written in Selenium, which goes through all those 50,000 landing pages, if there was a small change, even desired change or a bug, doesn't matter, it will result in a horrific report after the test, because we'll see the information that, I don't know, 10,000 tests has failed. And to adapt to those changes, it might require quite a big effort. And we suggest to just make screenshots of those pages, and if we see that the page is if we see that the change is desired, then just replace the old screenshot with a new one. Just replace the file, and then we are comparing to the new screenshot. Of course, especially if the landing pages are very similar, we would like to leverage some tools to be able to identify like groups of pages, to be able to replace because no one wants to replace like 10,000 files when the change was desired. We would like to automate it and just, I don't know, press a button, use a new screenshot as a baseline for this group of, I don't know, 3,000 pages if they are similar, if this was detected by the platform. And that's the whole idea to write the source code once, because if we want to reach those pages, of course we will need a bit of Selenium to do it. And afterwards, when we are doing the maintenance of our tests, we don't need to write anything new. We are just replacing the baseline. We are just playing with files, with images, which is just much simpler. There's a screenshot from current version of the application. That's nothing too fancy. It's just a very simple UI where we are comparing two screens. When we are comparing two screenshots of the application, the one on the left is the old one, is the baseline that we are comparing to, and on the right hand side there's a screenshot that we have just took, and we are comparing those. And if there are any differences, we of course would like to highlight those. We are working on making it better, in adding new options. Like for example, currently you can disable all of the differences that are not visible for the human eye, because when we are comparing values of each pixel, there are some values which might be not meaningful for the human, because for example, I don't know, opacity of this pixel. If the pixel behind it is on the same color, it doesn't matter. Or some like anti-aliasing things, which are not really important for the human eye. We can skip those. Of course, we can adjust things like allowed difference, because I don't know, maybe we care if the difference is in images is higher than, I don't know, 3% or anything like that. And of course, we have run into many problems. One of those is all kind of dynamic elements on the page, which are really pain in the ass, because any kind of animation, any kind of fading or galleries, we are not able to predict, just to the nature of how the pages are being loaded and rendered. We are not able to predict in what moment of this animation we'll make a screenshot. For now, we do not have a good way to solve it. For now, we have a way to detect those items on the page, and we can cover those with, we call it ignore area. I mean, you shouldn't consider a change in this area of the screenshot a failure. You shouldn't mark the test as failed. But of course, that's not the perfect solution, because we are not testing in the whole page. We would like to do different things. I mean, one of the ideas for the future is to be even able to record this animation and compare, because it doesn't matter in which place of this animation will start. If we will have the full animation, we can compare. If that's the same, that would be one way. The other way would be to evaluate really what's in this animation, to be able to not to be just dummy comparison tool, but really to evaluate. I mean, even if, like, here's an advert which is animated, and we have a different advert which is animated on the next screenshot, we should be able to tell that this test should pass, because that's the desired behavior of the website. We would, of course, our end goal of this tool, our end goal of this idea, is to make something that you can just install, set up, whatever, and then press one button, like do the testing. This will be the end goal, and this will be, of course, the most desired solution. But we are very far from reaching it. But that's definitely, we would like to keep an eye on the ball to realize what's the end goal. And we have made a crawler to help user test the application, because we are aware that most of the users are not be willing to spend time. They want to make it as fast as possible. So we have suggested to just give the app name, give a file with sitemap, or like any other file with the list of URLs that you would like to test. We have, of course, a possibility to detect those dynamic elements and ignore them in an automated way. And the next problem we have run into is testing on multiple devices. That's very complex. And to do so, we have integrated with Browser Stack. I mean, it's a well-known platform, which allows us to use to test on any kind of operating system, any kind of browser, any kind of resolution, including mobile devices, which really simplifies the process, and it allows the server application just to connect to the Browser Stack API, request the screenshots with given parameters, and then display those and compare accordingly. So we can perform our test without spending a lot of time, because to run this crawler you need, I don't know, 1 minute. I mean, you just open the page, provide the sitemap, provide the parameters, press run crawler. Depends on the size of the sitemap, it might run for some time. I mean, when we have run it for like 2,000 pages in a sitemap, it took like 4 hours. But of course, if we have provided like 5 or 10 pages, it finished in a minute. And as a result of this crawler, we'll have a set of test cases. We'll have a set of screenshots that which when we will run the crawler again, will be compared to the new set of screenshots. And if there will be any difference, the user will be notified. He will see it on some kind of dashboard. Other ways to execute the tests. So the first one is graphic UI. So I'm talking about some kind of crawler, something which is like as a service available to the user. But we have realized that especially the QAs, because this graphic UI will be needed for non-technical people if they want to just have the test as soon as possible. But the QAs, especially the experienced QAs, definitely they would like to have much more control over how they are testing, what they are testing, and they would like to have much more possibilities. To do so, we have integrated with Selenium, as this is like the most common tool for test automation, and we have written API libraries for this tool. Currently, it's written in Java and PHP because those were the developers who we had available at the time. Now we are working, of course, on a JavaScript, as that's the next one in line. And what this library do? I mean, you can install it on your machine, on the same machine as you have your Selenium tests executed, and it allows you to connect to the API of this platform, which basically gives you a new types of assertions. So it gives you an assertion: make a screenshot here and compare it with a previously made a screenshot in the same state, with some kind of parameter, some kind of header of this image. And if the screenshots will be the same, the server will return information they are the same, and the assertion will pass. And if they are not the same, the assertion will fail. It will receive the information from the server that there's a difference between the images. So basically, you can just install the library and add those assertions to the Selenium test that you have written previously in the past. They are exactly the same. We are just using pure Selenium, and we are adding this assertion, which is a function from the library that we have provided. That's nothing fancy. It's just very simple, but it does its job. That's that's how it was defined. And of course, at some point we have realized that with Selenium we are not able to test mobile devices, and they are quite popular. But we have after a brief research, just Google Selenium alternatives for mobile. We have realized that there's Appium tool, which is basically a Selenium for mobile. It doesn't differ in any way, so we're able to easily adapt the API libraries to be compatible with Appium as well, which allows to run those tests on the mobile devices, both for Android and iOS. And of course, same as Selenium, it's executed where the QA wants it to be executed. It's not executed on the server; it's executed like in a very classical way. USP versus the biggest competition. I mean, they're not really a competition because we are launching it as an open source, so it's not a big business competition, but of course we have checked what's on the market, what are the other tools which are serving similar purpose, and we have realized that the biggest asset, biggest value that we can provide is by two things. I mean, first of all, playing with any kind of intelligent crawler, being able to crawl and browse the page without limiting what user needs to provide us. That's a big asset. That's definitely the goal we are very happy that we have started with, and we would like to go much further in that area, because the end goal is just give us the URL of the application and press the button, do the testing. That's the end goal, and every step which moves in that direction is, in our opinion, the correct step. And second very important factor for us is the possibility to generate the tests automatically. That's an area we have started recently, and we're able to adapt our crawler to go through the page, even explore the domain, going further either through sitemap or just through the links on the page, staying in the same domain, to identify a simple common test cases. For now, we are extremely limited because, of course, we have started with some low-hanging fruits, which are all the hover states and all of the click states. What I mean by that, we are trying to hover a virtual cursor on any element on the page, and we are checking if it reacts, if it changes the state, if it's displayed in any way differently. And we are trying to click on everything on the page to display all kind of modals, to check what's happening on the page. And we are generating, of course, screenshots, as that's the main idea of this platform. But we are also generating a Selenium code, which can which can go through this scenario that we have just discovered. Because, for example, when we'll take any kind of page, we'll realize that for example, items in the menu on the top, usually they will change color when we hover over those. So for each of those items, we'll generate a Selenium test, which will open the page, move the cursor over those items, and take a screenshot. And of course, by taking a screenshot, we are comparing it with a screenshot which was taken in the same place previously. This tool is optimized to make the QA's work more efficient. The whole idea of the QA department, of any kind of QA tool and QA team, is to boost the quality of the product that they are working on. That's like the sole purpose of this team, to reduce number of bugs, improve the quality, which reaches the end customer. We would like to help those teams to reach the desired coverage much faster and to be efficient, because QA engineers, especially QA engineers who are writing automated tests, they are developers, they are very intelligent people, and I would like them to use their possibilities, use their skill set to focus on the parts which really needs it. Focus on the most important aspects of the product, which requires creativity, which requires some out of the box thinking. And I don't want QAs to spend time on testing on testing if the many items are changing color properly, if they are hovering with a mouse on it. In my opinion, that's a wasted effort. Any test written by hand or like manual test of this very simple case, in my opinion, it's a wasted effort, and as this can be easily automated, and the focus of those people should be on performing tests where they are really required, when there's really needed, and it can have much higher impact, much bigger impact on the whole application. Let's get to the topic which was like the biggest buzzword in the beginning of my presentation, is the machine learning applications for this tool and for this idea. there are, I mean, of course, our idea works well for this, for example, this Language International project where they have a lot of landing pages which will be there for close to forever and they will not change that much. I mean, that's the perfect example when this tool will be extremely efficient and very easy to use. But we have realized that very often that's not the case. For me, a very good example where this tool should be used, but we are not able to do it now, is all kind of auction services, like for example eBay or Allegro or AliExpress or whatever like that. And why we have the issue with those portals? Pages on those portals looks almost the same. The template is the same. One item page from the other item page doesn't change that much, but the items are appearing and disappearing from the whole system very rapidly. They will stay there for a few days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and they will disappear, and the new items will appear. So it means that we cannot expect to have any kind of similar screenshots between the regressions. And what we would like to do, we would like to have different modes, different ways to compare those screenshots. Because the simplest way, and the way we have started with, is to take those screenshots and make a pixel by pixel comparison if they are the same. It's like the dummiest but the simplest way, which covers many cases. But for Allegro, this will not work. And what we would like to do, the first idea which came to our mind, is to make a template comparison mode, which means that we will be able to identify which elements of those pages belongs to template and which elements of those pages are the content part of the page. And based on that, we can compare if the template stays the same, ignoring the content was changed. Because I would like to stop caring about the price, about the description, about the item. I want to compare. I would like to have the possibility to compare if the template, if the layout of those pages is intact. Of course, I will need a different test to compare if we are displaying a proper item, if we are displaying a proper description or anything like that. But I don't want to build one silver bullet which will solve all of the issues. I want to handle a lot of it. To write an efficient automated test, for example, to check if the price of newly added item, which was never on the system, if this price is correct, that's the topic I would like to leave to the QA, who will find a proper way to automate this case based on, I don't know, comparing with the data which is in the database or on the admin panel. I don't know. There are different ways to do it, but I would like to remove the necessity for him to check if the layouts of those pages is the same, if it is still intact. To do so, we would like to be able to identify what are the elements on the page, and like the very simple way will be to, for example, replace all of the images with the other images of the same dimensions, just, I don't know, only gray, and all the text with AAA as a replacement, and check if they are the same. There are many algorithmic ways we're trying to explore, and we haven't found a solution with results which would satisfy us. So we have started to work on different machine learning approaches using neural networks to find it. So far, we are not yet happy with the results because the probability of the correctness of our guesses was about like 60%, which was quite far off. I mean, the correctness of discovery if a given item is a part of layout or content. So it's way below our expectations. But I guess that it will find a way to make it like above 85%. We'll be happy with those. And when we are comparing those two different items, two different item pages, the simplest way is to compare the layouts. But I would like to go even further. I would like to be able to identify that those are for example, items from the same category, items of the same type. So I would like to be able to tell that those are two phones, or maybe even two smartphones with, I don't know, over 6 inches of screen dimension, or any kind of test that that might be meaningful for this platform. And I would like to use different techniques to be able to identify if the elements on the page fall into the same category, and then therefore I can easily compare if those two screenshots follow the rules that I have previously defined. To do so, to identify what kind of objects we have on the page, we have started with using Google Vision AI, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to always start from scratch. So we have started with using the basically free-to-use API from Google, which gives us some idea and gives us the possibility to check if that's a smartphone or a dog or a cat or whatever else. It gives us some kind of information like that. So based on that, we are able to improve and work on the different ways to compare the images. When we have started with machine learning implementation, when we started with the first models, of course we have started with the most common tools like TensorFlow and Keras. And in those tools we have started to build our models. So far, as I said, we are not yet there. It means we have those models, they are working, but the correctness is not there yet. So we are looking for different ways. We are looking for different ways to generate the learning data for those models. And of course, this will be a great breakthrough if we will be able to reach that point. Hopefully, after we'll go open, as we are going open source, we're looking for some great talents. Maybe someone will get interested in this topic, and he will be willing to contribute to this open source idea. Moving forward, it will be great to have more knowledge about the page, because currently we know the basics about we know nothing. We have a screenshot. We are able to compare how it looks like. But I will be more than happy to be able to identify what is an image, what is a text, that this text is a link, that's a call to action, that's a part of the gallery, so on and so forth. Basically, different items on the page, which will give more meaningful even bug reports, because now we are saying that the comparison of the images in that area has failed. But what I would like to be able to tell is that this link has failed, and even generate a Jira ticket and put it into a tool. Why not? I mean, anything that can automate and make the processes more efficient is always welcomed. Next points are, for example, for the mobile devices. On mobile screen, there's a lot of things that we don't really care about, like for example, time, battery state, Wi-Fi connection. So all of those status icons, status interface, should be ignored. I mean, and we'll be more than happy to be able to detect those, or for example, detect if there was like a push notification displayed over the app that we are currently making screenshot. Because we don't care, that's not a part of our testing. So it will be great to be able to detect that there are some items, some areas of the screen which are not relevant, which are not even a part of the application that we are currently testing. To do so, of course, it will be also good to have it detected in any kind of automated way, probably using machine learning techniques as well. Those are the elements of the interface I was mentioning. So like everything related to the dates or Wi-Fi state. And the same applies for the web version, of course, because if we will be able to identify that this piece of a screen, this piece of the web platform is, for example, a date or a timer, we don't really care about it. I mean, we just need to check if there are a proper, I don't know, date format or that there are numbers being displayed, but we don't care that the time has changed. Maybe we can think about some more sophisticated tests which will check if the time is somehow related to the time when the screenshot was taken, maybe. of course, it's an idea, but by a principle, we don't care that the time has changed. I mean, that's like a very normal, normal behavior of a clock, that it moves forward. Same with like any kind of like visits counter or anything that just changing on the page due to the sole nature of it. As I said, a part of our road ahead is being able to generate the tests. For now, we are able to generate the tests for those two simple cases, all of the hover states and all of the elements that responds to click. On the screen now you can see a simple sitemap that we have used. Unirac is one of our clients. We've used their website for testing, and after we have run our crawler through it, we have generated a file structure which is on the right hand side, and there are the tests which are generated by our tool, which for each of the elements of the page which reacted to either of those states, we have generated a piece of Selenium code which is able to touch this element in a desired way and make a screenshot and compare this screenshot with the previously made baseline. When we have run these tests for the Nike.com, this shoe company, sorry for that. I was not expecting a Dell update today. When we have run this crawler on the Nike.com page, it generated like around 2,000 different tests. For all of the elements, those are like extremely simple test cases. They are not that much important, not that important. They do not require any kind of sophisticated work. It's just a labor work to cover those. And we would like to remove the necessity to cover those from the QA department. I would like to have their focus on the more important things, more sophisticated items, and to have a simple Selenium test which cover all of those. And after we have run our crawler, we can just take all those files we have just generated. They are just Selenium tests with our library executed inside of it, and we can just add it to our Jenkins Circle CI or anything like that, and they will be executed alongside the rest of the tests which are for a given platform. I mean, it cannot get any simpler than that. Our road ahead, I mean, we still do not have a modern UI for test management. I mean, we have like very simple UI you have seen on the previous screens, but of course we would like to expand it a lot. We would like to be able to generate more sophisticated test data sets, because now we are generating data sets for test sets for click and hover, but I would like to move forward a lot. I mean, for example, I would be more than happy to, when I see a form on the screen, to be able to identify that that's an email, that's a username, and so on and so forth. And for example, fill it properly for the user and test the validation of the form, and then generate Selenium test which will fill it in a bad way, but a meaningful bad way, because when there's like email field, I would like to test, I don't know, if it will work without the @ symbol or any kind of malformed format of a zip code. So I would like to test different, I would like to have a different test scenarios, different test cases for different parts of this form, and I would like to generate all of those in an automated way. Of course, form is a good example, because like that's always the simplest case for the QAs, because there's a very lot of tests that can be written around even a simple form. But of course, there are many more items on the page that should be tested. And of course, user management at some point will be needed. Going open source, that's our main focus now. Currently, we are discussing about the name of the application, so that's the only thing blocking us from making a proper GitHub repository. But I hope that our legal team will be able to sort this out very soon, and we'll know if we can use the name, one of those names that we are considering now, very soon, and we hope to, of course, present it on our Facebook. There are some final polishing of the code, and we need to define the future goals. As we are going open source, we would like to have a list of tickets. We will have a list of ideas that if someone will be willing to contribute, then he will have something to catch some anchor if he want to work on this part. And that's everything I wanted to present for today. So thank you very much for your attention. Okay, some question. Is it possible to test standalone application with the framework? I mean, as long as you can test it with Selenium, then you can test it with our tool. I mean, of course, we'll be happy to use any other tools, any other testing frameworks for that. But for now, we are limited to Selenium, and Appium, of course, for the mobile devices. What about the pages larger than one screen? That's already covered, because if the page is longer, we are scrolling through the page and making screenshots of each of the parts of it. So when as a result, we'll have, for example, 8 or 10 screenshots made of a single page. I think that's the simplest approach to this issue. But of course, we can think there might be some edge cases where we need to have a screenshot of the whole page. Then we should think about some way to combine, to stitch those images together to be able to display those that way. How do you describe what kind of problem occurred? Currently, in the most dummy way, that we just show the screenshot with information that marked on the screen that this part was different between the screenshots. But those are the things that we would like to improve moving forward. Why I would like to detect items on the page to be able to generate those bug reports in a meaningful way, saying exactly what happened on the page. Can you please show some your generated Selenium test cases? I do not have those by hand, but if the person who wrote it can drop me an email, I will be more than happy to provide those. Or even I can show it right after the presentation. Please come here, because I have those on my laptop, but I just don't want to browse the file system on a screen. How to determine something is not visible to human eye? There are some things that are already known, like for example those anti-aliasing. So we are using well-known rules, which are basically provided by our graphic designers who knows how to use Photoshop and different kinds of filters. So that's the way how it is defined. We are not reinventing the wheel. We are just using rules that are already established. How many storage do you need for snapshot of 30 million of pages? A lot. I mean, when we have executed it, it took I think over 50 gigabytes of a disk storage. But that's like a really extreme case. It's like very lot of pages. Is your crawler available to use outside Codeta? Yes, I mean, as I said, we are going with it open source, so you will be able to download and set it on your own however you want. You will have the full code to set up the server. You will have the full code about the libraries. You can do whatever you want with it. It's free of charge. It will be with like those classical open source licenses. How do you verify 30 million images initially? That's actually the very important topic, because of course to verify it for the first time you need to do it manually. I mean, you need to be able to tell if the first state is correct. That's of course a big problem, but I don't see any possible idea how to make it better. I mean, we are trying to optimize it in a way that we are defining groups of the pages if they are very, very similar to each other. So, for example, you will verify one screenshot and you will see that it is valid for a huge set of the images, especially for those landing pages which will be very similar to each other. How long image comparison takes time? I mean, about like a few seconds for image. So that's very simple. So it depends purely on the number of images. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be here at the event, so if anyone has any more questions, I am always available for you guys. Thank you.